a notice prior to this that reminded you that we had this meeting. I know 7:30 in Portland anyway feels a little early. I know there's people from all over the country at different times, and you're making time in your really busy days to join us. So I just really greatly appreciate that. Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you all for joining, and I know I missed 1 or 2 meetings, and it looks like we've got some new faces. Would it be worthwhile, appropriate to do a round of introductions?
Sure.
Sure.
So while I'm sharing my screen, I can't see everybody. But I'll start and then everyone just jump in. I'm Dawn Uchiyama. I'm the deputy at BES, the Bureau of Environmental Services in Portland, Oregon, and deeply committed to the content of change management and mindfulness and leadership. And I'm really grateful for the work that both Scott and Cello and all of you have done. So good morning and thanks for joining.
I'll start calling people out just to make sure that, because I can't see who's here. So Sherry, would you mind?
Good morning, I'm Sherry Jones, and I am the Workforce Development Professional at Charlotte Water here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my passion is developing programs that can close the economic and mobility gap. And that is what we're doing here in the city of Charlotte.
Good morning, Sherry.
So Kestra?
Yes, so Castor Osman, I'm with Great Lakes Water Authority here in Michigan. I work in the asset management group at GLWA, and my primary focus is process development, communication, training programs for the asset management team and for our AMSO, which is our Asset Management Strategic Organization. My passion is to get it as right as possible, whatever it is that I do.
Thank you. Ramona?
Good morning. My name is Ramona Harry. I am an operations officer at Baltimore City Department of Public Works. When I started this, I worked for the environmental section, but I did process management for the overall Bureau of Water and Wastewater. Since that time, I have been assigned the task of running our weather consent decree task for workforce development and small business development. So I'm going to be reaching out. I reached out to Sherry to get her information for the workforce. So definitely going to be reaching out for all the help I can get.
Jessica?
Good morning. I'm just arriving. We're introducing ourselves.
Yeah.
Great. So I'm Jessica Manley Bucciarelli, and I work at Clean Water Services just west of Portland, Oregon. Hi, Dawn. I hear you used to work here.
Yes, I did.
This is my first time sitting in on the change management meeting. I wanted to learn more about what's been going on. I've been involved in some of the other people topics. My background is in communications, specifically employee communications, and my focus at Clean Water Services is on employee engagement. Increasingly, that is moving into the culture and equity realm, so including DEI. I also do a lot of leadership communication, like employee town halls. And this last year, I've been a little bit busy with employee health and safety. It's been kind of a big deal this last year. Glad to be here. Thanks, Jello.
Thank you. Alice?
Hi, Alice Brawley-Chesworth. I am also with Portland Bureau of Environmental Services, where I consider myself to be a bit of a jack of all trades. But one of the things I've been working on lately is sort of the organizational culture and trying to create more of a growth mindset in our organization.
Thank you. Dan?
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Ott. I'm the project management section head for KC Water in our engineering group. So I'm the oddball. I'm an engineer and a project management professional, and I've been working on our CIP planning and delivery business process model in that group, and I've been facilitating and helping coordinate with Cello and Scott with that group but I'm also very interested in what's happening within the people side and particularly change management. I work closely with Parajat, who I think has been engaged with this group as well. And as I mentioned early in the call, I work on process improvement on our project management side of things, as well as working with our newest project managers and engineers to do training and development. And I really enjoy that work, and I see some real fruits to engaging more with those folks, and it's cool to see some of the culture change that's happening within our organization as well. So anyway, very interested in what's happening here, and glad to be here. Thank you.
And Scott?
Oh, well, I think everybody here knows me. I'm just helping out, and really happy with the progress of the project, and really the way that the individuals have engaged with each other. And I think this is a pretty new model in a way. And yesterday I was on a call where the word convener was used. And I think in some ways that's what Cello and I do, is not only help, is just convene and then let you all do your good work.
Well, thank you. And I'm Cello, in charge of special effects and distractions. And I'm delighted to be working with such wonderful group of people. So back to you, Don.
Okay, I always love that introduction. Every time you say that, I love it. It makes me smile. Good. So let me go back to my sharing screen skills here and bring us to the agenda. Let's see if I can. No, I don't know how to advance.
Hey, Don,
Yeah.
you might, I don't know if this is a good time, but you might just say, what you're up to right now, because we also know each other fairly personally, through this process, and people should know, if they don't already, what your plans are.
Sure. So I, in the fall, applied for a fellowship with the Council of Foreign Relations, and I've worked for the city of Portland for 25 years or so, and I've never taken a sabbatical or leave of absence other than with my kids, which of course is not a sabbatical at all. I survived. My kids are 23 and 18, and so I really felt like the events of this past year really needed a different way of thinking, and I needed a different way to approach my job, and just really not kind of being satisfied with the way things are. So really wanted to shake things up a little bit for myself. And so I applied for this fellowship. I didn't really think I'd have a ice cube's chance in hell of getting it. And as it turns out, it happened. So I am now funded for the next 7 months, June through December of this calendar year, to travel to Japan and look at how they are implementing green infrastructure. There are several people in Tokyo that have traveled to Portland and were really interested in our green infrastructure work. They went back and made it their own, the way only Japanese do, and they are basically in a 10-year plan, aiming to increase the green spaces in Tokyo, a part of Tokyo, by 25% almost. So it's a hugely ambitious project. And so I'm going to take a leave of absence from Portland for 7 months and go turn myself inside out and upside down in another culture where I don't speak the language, or really have a clear idea of exactly what will happen while I'm there, but I'm sure I will learn a lot. And I really want to emphasize that my interest in mindful leadership, and it's framed in the context of climate recovery. So what are we doing for green infrastructure that meets our green climate goals? And what I have been saying is, Portland has been very progressive in many ways, and we've jumped off a lot of cliffs and took a lot of chances and have done things differently. But this past year and a half, what has really taught us is that it's all about people. And I feel like we haven't always focused on that. You know, we focused on the next Green Street, or we focused on the next program, or we focused on the next whatever. And what this year has taught us is the need to be a people-centered organization and to really care about each other, care about ourselves, care about nature. And so this opportunity to go to Japan is, you know, I know they don't have it all right either. But I really want to look at the qualities of the culture that are about care, again, about self-care, about caring for each other and caring for nature. So that's my game plan, and I still don't have a visa. It's all quite exciting. I have a airplane ticket for June 1st, but I don't have a visa. So I'm kind of on pins and needles, waiting to see if this is going to go through. Of course, COVID has taught us that we're not in charge, and so we have to be patient and go with the flow. And so that's what I'm trying to do. So in the meantime, making arrangements to leave. Alice is one of the rock stars on our team that is keeping things moving, and yeah. So I'm just very grateful to be a part of this conversation and to learn from all of you and to have this connection, and really look forward to what's ahead, because I think we've only just scratched the surface. So thanks, Scott, for giving me that opportunity. I actually haven't really had a chance to say that to many people, so thanks. Appreciate it.
No, that's good.
So,
Congratulations. That must be so exciting.
yeah, it's good. It's scary and it's exciting. There's just as much yeah, worry as there is excitement. So anyway, thank you. But I do think the one last thing I'll say about it is there's a whole in change management, you know, there, and you've talked about the cultural work that you're all doing and the workforce development work that you're doing. I really am interested in emotional intelligence and mindfulness and kind of self-mastery skills, and I've been introduced to some ideas coming out of MIT and some other places. And so I really hope that we can advance the ideas of change management through a really exciting emerging science around our neurology and our biology, and how that all works together to show up in these workspaces and do good things together. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to the next chapter of this discussion.
Great.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much for that. Just a small note, I did some projects in Japan, and I have to say two things. First of all, I had the second best croissant ever in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Second, I was confused most of the time working with the Japanese.
Yeah, they're confusing.
It is quite a it have many stories. If you're ever interested, I can give you you know, some, don't want to waste everybody's time, but it was like, huh? So many times, you know, it's a complex place, but like anything complex, you know, you can't just look at the surface, you know, but it's a fascinating place. Anyway, I wish you the best.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll definitely follow up.
And I don't know if this will make you feel better or worse, but I put it in the chat. So my son's visa for going overseas came the day before our flight. So it's terrifying, but it seems to be how they do things. So yeah.
Thanks for that. Good. All right, so back to the regularly scheduled program here. Thank you again for that diversion. It seems when I share my screen in presentation mode, I can't advance. I don't know why I can't go forward.
Well, it depends how, if you use the present.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, so recapping the accomplishments of how long have we been doing this? About 8 months, 9 months?
Yeah, about 8-9 months. Yeah.
8-9 months. So we'll spend a little bit of time recapping the accomplishments, and then I think mostly we want to talk about what's up in the coming year with WEF and WISE, and then we'll save plenty of time for any questions, discussions, urgent issues, things that you want to all put on the table. So I'm going to turn it over to Cello, I think.
Okay, let me just
Oops.
Yeah, I'll if you stop sharing. Oh, are you going to advance my slides? Or you want?
Yeah, I'll do it for you. Yep.
Okay. So our plan is this month we're just going to have to close things down and finalize the report. The report has been posted. There's a folder where we posted the final report to WRF. It also has a folder with 18 case studies. Believe it or not, we had 18 case studies and some training materials and so forth. One of the things that we're going to do for next year is form core teams, just like we had the core team here to work on the quote people issues. It worked out really well. And I have to say that I enjoyed working with Scott because we complement each other. And the idea of collaboration originally came really from Scott, because I was more like, lock yourself in the room and stare at the computer all day kind of person. We're really, but it has worked out so well that we're extending the collaboration level to have core teams that have been working very effectively on this workforce and organizational culture. It has been, I think, enjoyable for them, and the products are good. So we're gonna, products are great. So we're gonna look at structuring so that we have core teams for each of the things that we do. We're gonna, this month, sort of provide a draft outline of the work plan for our first year as a WEF WISE program. And what I just put into the chat line is a link to a survey where we're trying to get folks to tell us, and a number of people have taken it. It takes less than 10 minutes according to the stats. And just to gauge interest, what would people like to do? So I wouldn't spend, I wouldn't try to overthink it, but just to say, okay, these are the things that what would be interesting and beneficial for my organization. And if you find that there are some things, for example, happening on asset management that your colleague might be interested in, you can share it with your colleague, give him the same link. They can put in their name and their, their area, so that we can structure the teams and the scope and the direction that we go according to what the utilities feel, are their priorities. So we have a general framework, but within that framework, we want to develop a detailed work plan for the first year of WISE within the next couple of months, and form teams and plan how people are going to be engaged. Now, specifically for change management, we have, if you can advance to the next slide.
Sorry, there we go.
Yeah, the interesting thing about change management, and the most intimidating, is that it really, if it done properly, it will take into consideration the workforce, the processes, technology, the organization and governance and culture. So, oops, I would go back to the previous slide.
That changed automatically.
Okay. Well, let's see what happens. Maybe, if it keeps jumping, it'll just create a more dynamic presentation. It'll compensate for me not being very dynamic. So the challenge with change management is that we had interesting sharing between utilities of what we're doing now, but to go forward, we really sort of needed to look into that left side of within this circle, the workforce in organization, so that we can have tools to have the maturity models and methods, assessment methods there. And independently of this project, I'm working on another WRF project called Smart Utilities and Intelligent Water Systems. I'm the co-principal investigator there. So we're going to take the results from that to incorporate into this, so that as we go forward, we can apply change management and consider it when we're doing changes in technology, changes to processes, and just take a holistic view. And the things that govern this, the principles is sort of a system thinking or systemic thinking, which really is built on a premise that the whole is bigger than the sum of its parts, and that we cannot focus on just one part and expect sort of large success. And I think a lot of you have experience with technology projects that don't go anywhere because people, you know, don't they don't adopt the technology. They're not excited about it. Barriers are in the organization or workforce or processes and so forth. So we were not able, because change management is sort of like a huge challenge. We were not able to get into the weeds and into the trenches with change management so far, but we will do that as we will do that. I have a request to share a link to the work plan. Give me just one chance, and I'll give you that I'm copying the link.
A link to the final report, Cello. It wasn't.
Yes, the final report, yes.
Yeah.
So this is the link to a folder in the chat line that that contains the final report, and it also contains subfolder with all the case studies and subfolders for training materials and so forth. But both the Word and the PDF document are in that folder. If you have any difficulty finding that folder or accessing, or it tells you access denied, please send me an email, and I'll find a way to make it happen. So, sorry, I just wanted to, to respond to Ramona. So, the number one thing that would help us is, the Survey Monkey thing. If you could, and be free to give the link to others in your organization, as you fit some other people who may be interested. So I'm going to just stop for a second and see if anybody has any questions or thoughts or comments at this point.
Cello, I don't know if this is better at the beginning or the end, but since Dawn can't see the chat, there have been a number of people who don't want to infringe on your valuable time while you're in Japan, but they're interested in kind of following your journey, and basically, if there are things that you would want to share with them, they would be interested in that. So they want to stay connected to you, Dawn.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, I can, if folks just send me their email address, I can add you. I will have, I am going to share my learnings as I go. So maybe an email a month or something. But I'm going to, so I'm collecting email addresses for people who want to know. So thanks. And so send me your email if you want me to include you on my list.
Don, do you want us to send it via email or just put it in the chat window?
You can put it in the chat window. I think I'll have access to it right after the meeting ends.
Yeah, yes, it will. Yep. Sending an email I would recommend, because I know that as an administrator of the thing, I can see the chats from previous calls. I'm not 100% sure if everybody has access to these chats. So.
If you do send an email, then I can forward it to my Gmail account. It's easier for me.
Okay. All right, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, if you could advance to the next slide, please. So this is how we envision how we would, on the left side is the part of that WISE model with the internal value creation and learning and change management, organizational culture, and then people, process, and technology. So and on the right side is how we intend to look at it. And you can see that there's a quadrant for workforce, processes, technology, and organization. And what we've been doing on the workforce and organization side is you'll see that these things like strategy and performance, responsibility, accountability, they are all the categories that we have talked about and things that we have discussed and that this core team has developed. And the black dots indicate when we finalize the assessment tool that an organization can see where they are with these black dots. And the blue dots is where they would like to be. And then the change in color in these things says, you know, that you're going from, there's a color associated with each level. So the lower right quadrant technology is something that I'm working with on that other WRF project, and we plan to merge this into this work so that organization could have an assessment tool like this and see where is the, you know, where are the issues. And then if you could go to the next slide, take one of the things, I just looked at technology I had to pick one of the quadrants. And so let's say each of these, moving the black ball and turning it blue to a different level will mean that will require change management, but it means that it will have to involve the other three quadrants as well. So although you're working on technology, you're going to have to understand what the organizational boundary, what the organizational culture is and so forth. So that's why change management is sort of like around everything. And so anyway, so I just wanted to visually kind of show how we perceive this. So it'll be, you know, an overarching concept, and most literature and practice defines change management as a process. We already have maturity model for processes. So we're going to seek to develop not just guidelines, but also a sort of standard or template processes for change management that would identify who should get involved, what data should be collected, and so forth. So I'm going to stop at this point and just see if there are any questions.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, it does. I just have a quick question. Just wondering, I haven't been as involved in this aspect of it, but you know, how does this assessment tool align with, you know, others that are out there in the industry? And I guess what comes to mind, and I'm not really sure if it's an assessment tool, but it's like the AWWA WEF, you know, 10 attributes of an effective utility or something like that, that I think some utilities are using.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think what might help is that, especially in the beginning of UAIM, when we were talking to folks about UAIM, they would say, typically they would say, is this the same as effective utility management? Or they would say, how is this different from utility of the future? Or they would say, well, how does this work with the AWWA benchmarking efforts? So, because they each look at management. So what we did is we wrote a paper that was co-authored by Scott because he was a key person in that AWWA benchmarking, Jim Horn, who is the lead on effective utility management from US EPA, and Andy Cricken, who was at the time with New Jersey and was sort of one of the key people on utility, the future. So in that paper, it was a white paper by WENRF. We sort of showed how these things connect. So the effective utility management sort of highlights the things on the on a higher level. You know, what are your KPIs and you know what you should strive for, but they don't necessarily get into the nuts and bolts of how to actually do it, how to actually make a change. It's so what we're trying to do is really address the how question and to have a methodology. So UAIM, M stands for methodology. So we said, okay, if you want to improve your process, this is how you can go about it. And so we're going to extend that approach to these other areas and you know, have a methodology, guidelines, a set of tools. So the UAIM may give you a sense for where you are or benchmarking, but not necessarily how to fix it, why you are where you are, and things like that. So Scott, would you want to add something to this, what I just said?
No, I think that's good. So they're complementary is really what Cello is saying, and some people are saying that EUM kind of is more of a planning tool, but it doesn't get to how do you make the change and how do you get from where you are to where you want to be. It just has you define kind of where you want to be. But it doesn't do it through looking at work processes either. And it doesn't, you know, do it as fully as, it doesn't have an assessment tool that is really oriented around workforce, like in the detail that we have, for example.
So, and we have tried, you know, Dan, to reach out to the literature, even on the workforce and organizational culture. There are posted all sorts of, you know, knowledge-based references about different methods and stuff like that. What we settled on was something that includes ideas from other assessment methods and tools, but has been kind of shaped collaboratively by this core team that includes people from different utilities. And some of the questions come from survey by Office of Personnel Management, and some of them were inspired by the Gallup poll results and so forth. So we're trying not to reinvent the wheel, but to you know, take the best of what's out there. I don't know if that's a good enough answer or specific enough.
No, that's great. That helps a lot.
Jessica, I think you have your hand up.
Yeah, this is a newbie question and kind of a big one. So if it's out of scope, that's fine. But are you able to briefly describe how, to someone who's new to this, how this process has been connecting with best practices from the worlds of organization development, HR, sort of beyond the utility world, but change management in organizations, you know, in a larger sense? I guess particularly public organizations, but really in general.
Yeah, well, the reason why we focused for now on water sector utilities is because there are different models of how people organize. And in Frederic Laloux's really wonderful book, he identifies several stages of how people were getting organized to do things together, and identified different paradigms. What is the paradigm, a key paradigm for each type of organization? So and they all coexist still today. So the one that's basic is, you know, where one, like a drug cartel, you know, where one person makes all the decisions, and if you disagree, you know, you suffer the consequences. But then the next level of organization, so the paradigm for the first one is the wolf pack, which I think is not quite right in terms of zoology, but that's the paradigm. So the next level really emerged as from the military. and the paradigm is the military. And that is the model that's prevalent in public utilities, because we have strict
And
hierarchies.
government, for that matter.
I'm sorry? You're muted.
Sorry, and government for that matter.
Exactly. So it has well-defined job descriptions, it has siloed operations and all that. Then the next level up is what they, I think it is called a competitive model, where the model is a machine. And in general, I know it's a long-winded answer, but just if you can have a little bit of patience, it'll explain why we focus on water sector utilities alone. And many times people in utilities say, well, why don't we look at private industry? I make the case that it's not the same thing. We cannot learn valuable lessons. We can learn very few valuable lessons from private industry because they have a completely different model. And their paradigm is a machine. Even the language that they use about efficiency and so forth is about a machine. Yeah. Then the next level of organizations is something like Whole Foods or Ben & Jerry's, where they place a lot of emphasis on culture. And their paradigm is a family. So they spend a lot of money. And then there is a new color, is teal. I didn't know what teal meant until I read it there. I think women know more colors, than men. So well, you're making a face, Jessica. I was supposed to meet with this person, a woman who told me it's this mauve building. I thought it's the name of the building. I didn't know that mauve is a color. So I was walking around and I approached another woman on the street and I said, can you tell me where the mauve building was? And she thought that I'm an idiot because she said, well, it's a total disconnect. Anyway, so this highest level is, there is a Morningstar company, and their paradigm is an organism, which says that each part of the organization is an organism and they only make sense as a whole. So, and each one of these organizations model has specific characteristics. So we thought that it would be extremely difficult to come up with something that's practical and usable, but it's not tailored to the specific dominant environments that each person is facing. I apologize for the length of the answer, but I just wanted to, have a proper answer. So some of the methods in private industry, we don't have bonuses. We have different rules for promotions, and it is a different culture. So
if you could indulge me, I just approach it from slightly different angle, but with the same result. And that is that, I spend a lot of time globally and looking at practices and those kind of things. And one approach is for a consultant to go round all this stuff up and say, let me go work on this and then work with you. But what we've discovered through this process is that we find, because we have a large enough group and some really talented people, and we have different experiences in different organizations, what we find is that those practices, those best practices, are represented among us. And so what this model is a peer-to-peer learning experience and knowledge transfer, which is, people, all the feedback we're getting is that's what people really want and they enjoy. And so, and it's richer than what you would get from one consultant who is over there, thinking that they know everything when they really don't. And it really is about the consultant rather than about a group of public sector, agency people, government people, primarily who, among us, it's phenomenal what we know collectively. And so it's about all that sharing and those experiences. And even the last call that we had on Monday, Sherry, and I might be looking at you right now, but it was like, can we have more of that? So we really want to know you know, what each other is doing and really how we can benefit from that. And it's a discovery process that you're part of, so you own it also. It's not somebody else owning it.
And Kessler, I see that you have your hand raised, but I just want to add to Scott's comment that this is the people-centered part, right? We're doing this based on relationships, and it means something. It's not a training, it's not a report, it means something. And so anyway, I love it. Kessler, sorry to interject there.
No, no
Please.
worries. Thank you. Just a quick thing. First, cello, I went to get my eyes tested once, and the doctor told me men see like, I think 7 colors and women see like 197 colors. Or
Woohoo!
I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was this huge difference. Like, what do you mean? He says, actually, it's a biological thing. So
Wow.
it's nothing against men. It's just that men don't see as many colors as women do. But having said that, one of the things, I worked in the private industry for like 23 plus years before I came to the water sector and into a public domain. And I agree, there's a huge difference in mentality, in the thinking, in the organizational culture. Some of the key things that I noticed when I first came on board is exactly what we're doing here is information sharing. You don't see that because there's so much competitiveness out there that you don't really truly know when an organization comes out and says, hey, this is what we're doing, that is that really all that they're doing, or is that so they're just not as open. And I find that that was really unique in the public sector, and especially in the water sector. I think it's really unique in how we do that. And the other thing I found, kudos to all the women, that in the private sector, I didn't see as many women in executive leadership positions as I did in the water sector, and that changes culture, right? You know, let's face it, there is that gender influence that comes into play too. So I think focusing on the utilities is a great idea because we have a different, it's just a different makeup to what the private sector. And I mean, we can learn a few things from out there, but I think this is a better platform. Anyway, that was my 2 cents worth. I always have to.
Yeah, those
have
were
to have a 2 cents worth, right?
those were awesome. That was more than 2 cents. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate those comments. And especially, you know, I started at BES as an environmental specialist kind of on the front line, and it's a tortured path to get to where I am. It's not been easy. And I still don't think, anyway, I won't go down there, but I totally appreciate what you just said.
And the competitive model, you know, having worked a career in the public sector and then going to the private sector, I'm very aware of what goes on in the consulting world, and it is extremely competitive. And so what it is, it's about, let me and the company I represent show you our shiny objects. And then everyone else does the same, and you don't really get the benefit of everyone's share of shiny objects. And so this model that we've engaged in, you know, this group and this team and this process and this movement in is really different. It's essentially different than what is normally experienced. And so I think that that's a learning that I don't know if all of you, to what extent you appreciate that, but it's really quite different from the way that organizations and the consulting world promotes, you know, themselves because they're interested in their company's competitiveness, right? And so, you know, there's consultant methodologies help us all make progress, but in a different way. And this is a richer experience.
Dan?
Yeah, that's a great comment. I mean, these great comments all around. Scott, your comment made me kind of prompted an idea for me that I mean, I think we all leverage and partner with the private sector and the consulting community to help get work done. But as stated here, there are, and I've experienced this too, there are limitations as to what consultants can do or what they can offer us. And I think sometimes as utilities, we don't position our consultants in the best place to get the most value out of them. So that might be another kind of long-term or future idea that WISE could tackle, is like, well, what's the best way to, we're going to be leveraging consultants, and we should, because they have things to offer, but what's the best way to do that so that we don't put them in a position to where we fail or they fail. So anyway, good comments.
Yeah, we kind of got off on a tangent, but sometime, Dan, I would like to just have a side conversation with you just about what are some methods that could be a better way to engage consultants so you create win-win, kind of situation, because there is some methodology around that from a project management standpoint. So, just sometime, but that's an aside. but that could be something for your team to more fully develop, is how do you more effectively work with consultants towards, kind of common goals and a better form of partnering, that kind of thing.
One of the more flattering definitions of a consultant that I heard is that it's somebody from out of town with slides.
And big posters.
So, but it has to be out of town. So but anyway, I spent about half my career in consulting, and I think, and what I noticed is that there are good and decent people working in utilities and smart people. There are decent and smart people working in consulting. They're everywhere. There are also people who are not that helpful and do things for the wrong reasons in consulting, in utilities, and stuff like that. But I think that if we take a step back, we have a noble mission. Water is fundamental for life. We have such a privilege to work. We can feel good about our work. We should also make sure that our organizations are kind to their own people and fair, that they respond to the community, that they are aware of ecology. It's a complex thing. So the thing that this slide that I showed with the spider diagram is missing a big piece, which is the outside piece. Mm-hmm. This is what we do inside, but there's an equivalent. What the community, the regulators, the policy, all these other things that we need to. One of the key aspects of system thinking is the concept of feedback. We need to know how we impact other people, employees. We need to, how we impact the community. But we're so fragmented because military model is so fragmented, so that it doesn't produce naturally a holistic kind of picture. It doesn't. That's why we have all these technology silos that are easy to see, but we've got silos of all sorts of things going on. So anyway, not to belabor the point, but this will probably be our last call. Most definitely will be our last call under the WRF project, and then we'll restart things under WEF WISE. And I want to say that I'm so grateful to everybody who's participating. And the most rewarding thing for me is when I see that people are enjoying it, that they connect with each other. I remember when Alice and Makeda formed a little team, and they said, "Oh, we'll get together." And I said, "Well, could you invite me to come along?" Because that was the best thing. Because it's really about them. It's about Alice and Makeda, and not about me. So that was the most rewarding thing, really. I mean this in the best way, Alice. Honestly. I'll always be ready to get out of the way. So I want to thank everybody for everything, and I hope that your agencies are going to sign up for WISE, and we're going to go forward and make all sorts of things happen. And think how far we've gone. In just a few months, we generated these maturity models, these assessment tools. This doesn't exist in our sector right now. Ramona.
So I've had a really, really good time participating, and it has absolutely helped me in how I function day to day at work and some of the things that I've been able to get accomplished, kind of just through this group talking about how our different organizations work. I was be able to better recognize some of those behaviors and actually go around them or figure out how to be more emotionally aware on, okay, how do I respond to this person? Okay, I've gotten some insight into how I might be better be able to do that. So it's been really, really helpful. And one of the things I want to do is do you know when you'll be organizing the future core teams so that
Right. This is what the survey is for, so that I can see, okay, so many people are interested in this, and then we'll say, okay, because it's not like invitation only, you know, it's not like a country club or something like
right.
that. So whoever is willing to take the punishment and work and you know, attend, yeah, you're in, you know. so,
Okay.
so we're looking for the most gullible and most, you know, people with the poorest judgment who will say, okay, I'm not going to focus just on myself, I'm going to share with others. Oh, okay.
Okay.
As soon as that's what this, because the survey is saying, what are you interested in? And I'm trying to gauge, you know, if there are 50 people or is nobody's interested in something. And then we'll, because right now we got 120 people on the full list. I want to know who to send the emails about organizational culture, who to send, you know, and when I say I mean, you know, the project team and Scott as well, so that we can, so as soon as we have this data, which will be hopefully by the end of this month, we'll start contacting, and we'll probably have a early in June when we formally transition to WISE, we'll have a workshop for everybody, and we'll present a draft work plan, draft core groups, and you know, it's very much an expectation that we have that people will just kind of jump on the ship that they like the best and enjoy it. You know.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, we're almost at time. Any other closing comments or observations? Oh, Sherry, I'm sorry, I didn't see you had your hand up.
It's okay. So, Cello, just off of what you were saying, are you going to roll any of this out at the conference in August where we can kind of see the menu of things that we can participate in, or don't think enough people are going to be there?
Well, we have the session in August at the Utility Management Conference. Scott is organizing. It'll talk more about what we've done in the past and what we'll do in the future. But you will not get rid of me very easily. I will pester you with emails, and there'll be information galore. You know, so as soon as right now, I'm just trying to. We're just trying to wrap up things with, and the other thing is that our project manager on the WRF side was Fidan. She took a job with WEF, so she will be our project management person there. So I have to be a little sensitive to have a line between we're done with the project and we start with WISE, but we're almost there. So the next time we meet will be WISE program, and there'll be definitely opportunities for people to be on the core teams and participate. And we're starting to hear from new utilities who are interested in participating. And by the way, if you have colleagues, peers, and some other utility that you think might benefit, you spread the word. It helps everybody, because this is kind of a crowdsourcing thing, and you have to have a crowd in order to have crowdsourcing. You know?
And they also consider this in economic development as industry clustering, which is really important when it comes to innovation and in knowledge sharing. So this is awesome. And the more people within the industry need to be privy to this, because some people still think they have to work in silos. Some people still don't believe that the tire has been invented, and they keep churning their wheels. And I'm always saying, did you reach out to other utilities to see what they've done, if they've done it already, and maybe how we can, you know, glean some of that information? So I think that's a good idea, Cello, to invite others from our organizations as well, to expose them if nothing else.
Yeah, yeah, this is a movement. So, you know, it's not a project that has an end and, you know, you write a report, you're done. No, you're not done, you know. Well, anyway, we're getting close, Dawn. You think it's okay we close it up? And
Yep, it's time to wrap it
wish
up.
you-
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so honored to have met all of you and to work with you, and I look forward to many more engaging and thought-provoking conversations in the future.
Yeah, well,
Enjoy your trip.
Thank you.
Enjoy your trip and your adventure.
Yes.
Thank you.
And don't be
Good luck.
afraid to try the croissants.
Hey, whatever the Japanese decide to do, like when they put their mind to it, yeah, they're all in.
Yeah.
And croissants and coffee are one of them, surprisingly.
Thank you, everybody.
All right,
Okay,
bye.
take care.
Thanks so
everyone.
much. Have a beautiful
Take
day.
care.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye.